Hello, everybody, and welcome to Finding Clients Thursday. We are here today with Hallie, and I'm so excited because we have dedicated an entire day out of the week to this topic because it is the thing that we get asked about most. It is the thing that holds most people back. It is I've said for years that I'm a big believer that learning tech skills is really the easy part, but finding the clients and getting out there and actually starting the business and turning it into a business where you're making money, which that's what business is. That's the hard part because really it puts us out of our comfort zone to go out and find clients and things. So I'm really excited because today we are going to be talking about finding clients, specifically introductions, referrals, and networking. Now, immediately when I say those three words, there's a little bit inside of me that kind of freaks out because I'm an introvert and I kind of think, I don't want to do that. That makes me really uncomfortable, and all the fear things go running through my head. So, Hallie, could you please tell us how in the world do we use introductions, referrals, and networking to find clients? Because I want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I totally get the introvert thing. And, one of the things that I really want to point out today is that there's a lot of different ways to do this. I will definitely share some of the ways that have worked for me and have been a good fit for how I relate to people. But there's also some overarching principles that you can kind of make work into wherever your comfort zone is. There's a good reason to push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone. That's usually where some exciting things come. But finding the thing that feels like a good fit to you is also going to mean that you're going to stick with it and keep doing it. So take all this with a grain of salt and think about applying it to a version that feels doable to you and not feeling like there's only one way that you have to find clients.
And I'm immediately more calm. And I almost feel like you have given us permission to not put too much pressure on ourselves. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it too. Everything that I'm going to talk about, it's about genuinely connecting with people. And in order to do that, you have to be able to fully show up. And if you are pushing yourself into a situation where you hate every minute of it, people are going to feel it and you're not going to be able to connect with people as well as you'd like to. So definitely tweak these things until you find a version that you like. Like, I know a lot of people really love BNI groups and have had great success with that. Personally, not for me. A group like that is when there's usually like one of each type of business. It's pretty formal. You pay a membership, you show up, and everyone kind of gives their pitch of this is what I do, this is what I offer. And you go around the room, and it feels like enforced networking, but it also has a lot of structure. So if something like that, like if that structure feels exciting to you, that's a great kind of group. Finding groups are a great way to start. And that can be, for me, I am part of a chamber of commerce, and that has been amazing. The one that I'm a part of has a nice balance between business networking and kind of social group. So there are some events that are a lot more formalized, like give your elevator pitch, talk about what you do. But there's other stuff that's like everyone goes to lunch together and just kind of casually talks. And for me, that works really well. It's a nice way, especially working from remote. It's a nice way to have a little bit more engagement with people. But that's been really good connections to find out who else is in the community. What do they do? Have some casual conversations where you talk about how you can help. You hear people's stories. But also, in person's not the only way to go. Facebook groups are fantastic. Finding a Facebook group where either you're among people that are doing something similar, or you're among people that represent the kind of folks that you want to work with. And showing up to those, it's a little less pressure than having to be in person. You engage when you feel comfortable engaging, but there's a lot of great opportunities to spark conversations, to give helpful advice, because giving value is always going to connect with people quickly. Whether that is showing up and answering a question that's within your realm of expertise, and all of a sudden people say, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. If I need something like that, this seems like a good person to talk to. Or even, we mentioned referrals, and there's a lot of ways that that can go both ways and be really useful. One thing that I really love doing in Facebook groups, especially, is if there's a topic that someone's asking a question about, and maybe I don't have a great answer, but I know someone that definitely will, tagging them in and saying, you know what, this person, they know a lot about this. They should be part of the conversation. And that does a similar thing where someone says, hey, this person knows a lot of people. This person is willing to share their network and their expertise. And it gives you an opportunity to start a conversation later, which is super helpful.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, so networking, and you mentioned one of the first groups you mentioned, BNI. What does that stand for?
Business Networking Institute? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, but you're right. I wasn't sure if you knew, because when you said it, I thought, oh, maybe we need to say what that acronym is. I think that's right. But
it's a great question. That is Google that at home. If you're curious. Those are usually regional. There's usually groups around you. So if something like that does sound appealing, totally worth looking into. Again, chambers of commerce, usually regionally based. Sometimes it's like municipality based. Sometimes it's state, depending on how big an area you're in. Those are usually membership. Both of those are membership based groups, but it doesn't even have to be formal. I mean, if you've just got people in your sphere, you probably know some other people that are doing things that, whether it's, they've got a side gig or they're other entrepreneurs. Those are just great people to keep conversations going with. And I really there's a couple ways that I really like starting conversations with people too. Most people are more interested in themselves than you, and not in a selfish way. It's just, you spend a lot of time in your own head and thinking about what you need and what you want. And so most folks are going to be a little bit more interested in things that relate to that. So while it's really good to have a clear elevator pitch for what your services are and what you offer, it usually connects with people a lot more if you talk in terms of how you can help, and give them a lot of space to tell you what they need. I like to start conversations with either just simply how can I help? What do you need? Or especially in like maybe a discovery call or an intake with a consulting client, I love to tell people or ask people to tell me their story. It's really open-ended, but when you can get people talking about themselves, they will give you so much good information about what they want, what they need, what their values are. And if you really pay attention to that, there's so many jumping off points for opening the conversation for how you can help, because this is something or a great connection you can make. And those referrals, again, I love receiving referrals and giving referrals, because it increases that trust and authority of that. Not only can you show up and help, but other people that can. And when someone approaches you with something that maybe is not within your zone of genius, it's maybe not what you offer, sometimes there's that panic feeling of, well, I need more work. I guess I can figure out how to do it. But you're going to be a lot happier and they're going to be a lot happier if you just say, you know what, that's really not my specialty, but I know someone that you're going to be in amazing hands with. And that handoff, sometimes that just takes the pressure off you to not have to do something that you're not super comfortable with. But also that person, next time they do need something that's more in your realm, they're going to think, oh, wow, I'm going to trust this person's advice because they gave me this great referral. And so now I feel way more comfortable with the advice that they're giving me about what they can offer.
Yeah, much more of I was going to say a longer term strategy, but really it's short term, long term, but it's just building those relationships and that trust factor as well that comes into it.
That's such a good point, because you have to kind of think both in the short term and the long term. Cultivating these long-term relationships, that's definitely a longer term strategy, but hopefully you're in this for the long term. Like you want clients now and you want to start building now, but you also hopefully 2-3 years from now, you're still doing this work and you want to make sure that you've got some systems set up in place. So not only cultivating those relationships, but collecting people that do things, and just keeping in mind, like when you're asking someone to tell you their story, like pay attention to the details of what this person does and what they can offer people. And I like to keep just like a collection of folks, whether that's, written down or just kind of keep in mind who I know that can do things. So down the line, if someone asks, I say, oh, I have the person for you. But so that's more the long-term landscape. But that short-term is in play here as well, with, like we mentioned, introductions. So when you have a network of people, when you are talking to people about their needs, when you've built some trust and relationship with them, if you want to approach maybe a client, like with approaching people cold, sometimes things get kind of lost. Maybe people don't know who you are. They don't know if you're serious about what you're doing. And so that can get kind of filtered into the, like, I don't know if I'm going to pay attention to this person. But if you can figure out if there's someone that you know that also knows that person you're trying to approach that you don't know yet, say, hey, can you just introduce me? You don't even have to ask for, hey, can you tell this person they need to hire me? Just be like, can you make an introduction? And that small little warm handoff of, hey, this is so-and-so, I know them. I know you. Meet each other, starts a conversation on such a better foot than just trying to reach people in isolation. And so that's a really great way that short term, when you're starting to make these connections, when you're wading into whatever group, you can just use that in the immediate. It's like, I would love to meet this person. Can you introduce me?
I love that. And it just kind of makes me think how a lot of times when you're first getting started with your own business and the advice is, to find clients, reach out to your network first of your family, your friends. And you could almost take what you've just said with regards to introductions and apply it to this and kind of take it to the next level. And rather than you absolutely reach out to family and friends, but if there doesn't seem to be a good connection there, then who do your family and friends know that could use what you offer? And that's another way to look at it. And I like how you said you don't even have to ask the person to refer you. It's just the introduction. It's just that first step that takes the kind of cold pitch out of the process. I love that. That's such a simple thing that a lot of people don't think about. And it also makes it a little bit less intimidating, and you have that connection. And I think that's an amazing idea.
So much of any kind of connecting with people, they are simple principles. It's just the doing them that can feel kind of hard, and the doing them consistently that can be really hard. But that's the skill that you can start nurturing. They're all skills. Sometimes you have things that come naturally to you. Maybe you're good at talking to people. Maybe you're good at looking up on LinkedIn and seeing who their connections are and things like that. Like those might come naturally. But where it really becomes a business skill that you can start taking yourself to the next level and really getting use out of is finding, making sure that you're following up with people, making sure that you're doing this consistently, whether it's, okay, I'm going to make a decision that I'm going to connect with 5 people this week. And what that means, again, depending on your comfort zone, connecting can be so many things. Like, are you going to have lunch with 5 people? I don't know, maybe. Are you just going to say hi in a group? Maybe. It doesn't have to be that set in stone, but finding a way to create a system around it and just be consistent is also really key to these being useful.
Yeah. In addition to, I love that about the setting a goal. And I like how you said, 5 in a week, like that just feels attainable. That feels achievable. And you've set a number and having a system to kind of do it in the first place, but also track it, because a lot of times if someone reaches out, and this is personal experience, if someone reaches out to me and they have an ask or a favor or something, I absolutely want to help if I know them and I want to do what they've asked, but we're all busy. And sometimes I forget and it gets lost and things like that. So what's the follow-up process? How many days after, don't take a no response as a complete no. It's just people are busy, and having a system for that as well to follow up.
Actually, I just had a conversation about that with someone who was saying that they had been emailing prospects and they hadn't gotten a lot of response. And they asked me if I thought it was appropriate to then follow up with someone on Facebook. Absolutely. So it's not necessarily that people are just busy, but also people have different channels that they're comfortable communicating on. Some people check their email 5 times a day. Some people just let that go and occasionally check it and maybe get back to you. Some people are on Facebook Messenger. Some people are on LinkedIn. And so especially when you're trying to make that connection with people, talking to people the way that they are comfortable talking and talking to them in the method they're comfortable talking will go a long way. So yeah, absolutely. Follow up with people on different channels. Figure out the one that they want to respond on. Even ask them. Just be like, do you prefer talking on the phone? Do you prefer email? Within your boundaries too. Like if you are just not a phone person, don't put it on the table. Don't do it. You don't have to. But follow until someone really says like, I don't really want to talk to you. Leave me alone. There's a chance that they're just busy or they've got a lot on their plate. And if you have something that you really feel like is a value to them, then it's totally appropriate to just keep pushing for that connection.
Yeah. And people will say if they can't do it, if they don't want to do it, if it's not the right thing for them. And I think that's also just something worth knowing that if, don't badger, of course, but within your comfort zone and then within their comfort zone, but following up 100%. And I appreciate when people follow up with me. I used to be really uncomfortable about following up with other people. And because I now appreciate when people follow up with me, I kind of think, well, why would I assume that they don't want me to follow up? And I just assume that I'm being a pain or that I'm getting in their way or badgering them. Those are all the things that I used to tell myself. But now it's in a different position. I kind of think, well, actually, so I have no issue following up with people and just, making sure that it's something that they are aware of. And they'll come back and say, now's not a right time, or thank you very much, but not right now. And then you get that confirmed no, rather than telling yourself all these stories in your head. At least that's what I used to do.
Absolutely. And, this is another one of those things that on the surface, it sounds so simple, but it's way more complicated. Really listen, like take people at face value. If they tell you something, if they say not right now, but maybe later, okay, great, follow up later. If they say that they're busy, then give them some space, but that's not a no. I mean, telling yourself your stories in your head can really, really gum you up, and it's really easy. But listen to what they're telling you. And if you give people a lot of space to talk about themselves and talk about their needs, it's amazing. It's amazing what people will tell you. Mm-hmm. I have often had the experience where I will just sit and let someone talk about their experiences and their needs, and then say it back to them and say, okay, so it sounds like you need X, Y, and Z. And they go, how did you know? That's exactly it. You just told me. Yeah. But so many people don't take the time to actually listen and take people at what they're saying. That stuff gets lost, and people are really surprised when you take the time to directly hear what they're telling you they need.
Yeah. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, there's so many little golden nuggets that have come up in this 20-minute conversation. And I love what you said there about really listening to people. And the only way you can do that is if you stop listening to the stories that you're telling yourself. So it's almost kind of like stop listening to your own stories in your head and listen to what the person is telling you right in front of you, and hear them and be able to say back, exactly what they have just said. And I think it's such a simple thing, but yet it's so powerful.
It's a skill that takes practice too. You just start by paying attention, but then you learn how to maybe ask some questions that kind of prompt the conversation a little bit more, and you learn to listen to certain pieces that stand out. So it's not something that it's going to be perfect from day one, but it's always going to be appreciated. I mean, people love the space to actually be heard. I heard an amazing thing a while ago that was if you can articulate someone's problem better than they can, they will be confident that you also have the solution.
Ooh, y'all hear that? Y'all write that down. That is good. If you can articulate someone's problem, that is really good. And you're right. It takes practice. I mean, it's almost like if you're working out and you start with a small dumbbell and then it's building a muscle, and it's the exact same thing. And at the end of the day, it takes practice, and you will not be good at it at first, but you will get better.
The great news is that you have tons of opportunities to do that. Just in your social interactions, just use that lens. Next time you're talking to a friend and you're just asking about what's going on in their life, just, think about it through that lens of getting them to tell you more and listen more than you talk, and then start applying it to a professional framework too.
Amazing. Oh, so many gold nuggets in there. Thank you so much, Hallie, for your advice and the way that you can connect and relate with people. And it's so natural. Is that something that you've always been good at, or you've kind of worked towards and gotten better?
That's a great question. A little bit of both. I love hearing people's stories. I always have. I've worked in multiple industries. I was a bartender. I was a massage therapist. I've worked in lots of places that put me in front of people that are talking about themselves usually. And I've always been fascinated by it. I love it. It's so interesting. And I enjoy that a lot. But also I am borderline introvert. I'm an ambivert. Like, I definitely get a lot out of talking to people and all that, but I've got a finite cap, and I am also painfully shy. So it's sometimes really difficult. And so that's definitely where the practices come in. The practice of, I need to do this right now because it's for a professional need. Like, I need to go to this event. I need to talk to people. I need to follow up with them. And that discipline is the part that I've had to do a lot more practice with, of just, what are my rituals for getting psyched up before I'm going to go to a business event and talk to a bunch of people. Personally, and I've said this before, I love a blazer. It makes me feel like a grown up. And so finding those little hacks for how to get yourself into it and ready. That's what I've spent a lot more time cultivating. So yeah, I do definitely have some natural ability, but finding a way to apply that in a useful way, that's when a lot of that practice has come into. And I will also say, on natural ability, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I feel very passionate about this because it's something I'm working on myself. It is so easy, if you have natural ability or inclination towards something, to dismiss it as not a skill. To just be like, oh, well, I'm just good at that. So that's nothing. No. Not everyone can do everything. And there are certain things, if you already have some ability, that's absolutely valuable. And then you can make it feel more like a skill when you add some more structure to it. But also, if you don't have that natural ability, there are so many ways to still get the benefits out of it by creating a system and following some steps. So,
yeah, the system for sure. And then that it kind of keeps you on track to keep up with what you have said that your goals are and your aims are. So amazing. I love it. Thank you so much. I never would have pegged you as being shy, but there we go. I think you're
a lot of practice.
Yeah, a lot of practice. Exactly. Then again, I'm a massive introvert, and here we are live.
Right?
Practice. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate the time. And guys, if you have any interest in learning more about finding clients and how to, start an online business, grow an online business, scale, what services you can offer, networking and talking with people, all of those skills we have inside of GeekPack. In addition to our community and our live cohorts and live classes and everything that goes along with it. And we do have a 14-day free trial. So if you're interested and you want to check it out free for 14 days, come on in, check out all the skills, opportunities that we have, the community, and see if it is a good fit for you. We would love to see you in there. Thank you again so much, Hallie. Really appreciate your time. And we will see y'all next time on